Hello there folks, this is Ferenc on board here with another video. This time I came with an interesting idea to speak about, and I was a bit introspective on the idea. So the point of this video is, why do children cry, especially very young children? Now I'm not going to present this as a scientific point, because usually I transcend science, as I really don't like I really don't like science that much. It sounds more like a, let's call it a distraction in most cases. At least this is my point, so take it with a pint of salt, I can say. The point is that science has become more and more suppressive, and it kind of behaves subconsciously, at least, in a way that if you don't follow it, you're kind of on the bad side of it. In a way, it kind of sounds like the Inquisition and the enforced belief in Christianity that it had around Europe for so many centuries. Um, and I don't know why science would require to be, like, domineering in order to be followed. So to speak a bit about this. So I don't have a child, but I've seen a lot of children crying, and children are the most pure entities in this world, at least from the standpoint of flesh and bones. And I'm not talking about, like human children. I'm just talking about any kind of, you know, um recently born entity. Okay. So when they come into this world, let's speak about children. They are very pure. It is one of the most challenging parts of consciousness, because when someone is born, actually there's far more pain to birth than to dying. Because let's think a bit. When someone is dying, and they die a natural death, okay, like, how much energy does one actually need for that? It's just a simple process. So natural death occurs when the body, well, any kind of death actually occurs when the physical body becomes incompatible with life. Basically, dying means your consciousness leaves because it is no longer compatible with your body, because the body lives in the consciousness, not the consciousness living in the soul. The point of this world is to make you live life in reverse. So everything that you have been taught is in a way reversed, so that you can actually be easily manipulated. Because manipulation and dark magic are kind of the same thing. Dark magic means installing a vision into your mind so that you actually take it as true. And when you take that vision, you actually limit yourself. Black magic doesn't do you anything specifically, you are just doing things to your own self by believing things, and the belief is accepting things without need for proof. So when children are born, they already go through a very traumatic experience. I mean, the consciousness goes through a very traumatic experience. They are very vulnerable, they are somewhat unprotected. Although there are spirit guides and there are also guardian angels and demons for that entity, there is still going to be a lot of pain. Now, when entities, when they come into this world from higher realms and higher dimensions, they will have to go through multiple dimensions, because, I really doubt, and I kind of felt that they just don't teleport from the higher dimensions to the lowest dimensions like in a blink of a second. There are challenges they have to go. So in order for an entity to get born, they indeed will get asleep in that dimension or something like that, in order to project themselves, because basically only a bit of themselves, a facet of themselves, comes into the lower dimensions, and it keeps descending and descending. And as it descends, time becomes more and more prevalent, let's say, and also uh, more and more negative manifestations like emotions and the such, and such vibrations take a toll in time on higher vibrational entities, because the point is, the only way they can actually reach lower dimensions is if they actually become infected with these negativity ideas, and they kind of immunize themselves in such a way that they can actually take them. So in a way, many people would think, but why don't higher vibrational entities come into this world? Well, think of one thing. A highly vibrational entity coming to this world, they're having such a great vibration that it will cause ripples in this world. Also, this world is so highly negativistic that usually when you put in physics a plus and a minus together, they usually don't do well together, right? There's always gonna be some exchange. Negativity might get a bit cleansed, but the negativity in here will be so huge, even for a highly positive and advanced entity, it can actually still wear them down in time, because the negativity here is been stable for so long, it's actually hard to like instantly cleanse. And an entity of a higher vibration coming in here, actually, it's like it's gonna be a violent reaction nonetheless. Most likely in the physical realm it will have a lot of impact as well, like most likely electricity being cut off. Highly positive entities actually have such impact on machines, for example. They at times flicker, especially light bulbs. uh, Even cats become a bit more attentive and start looking in different ways, or it depends. If entities are not that positive, animals might actually be a bit more alert. But their alertness is also related to the alertness of their own companions, like human companions, for example. Because animals can be very empathic, but not all and not always. Now, children, when they get born, they are very fragile, and no one knows how many things they have gone through in order to reach this world. In Reiki, I have learned a point that when you want to forgive yourself, you have to forgive yourself for a very, very long period of time, and well, that period of time actually equals your age plus extra 9 months. Now, why those extra 9 months? Well, your life actually begins in the womb of your mother, when the two cells actually combine together and have created the first bit of life that you are going to become. So that is when your life really begins. Your age is being counted after you have been born, indeed, but your actual life is your current age plus the 9 months you have been in your mother's womb. So that's something you have to forgive yourself, because there's also a lot of trauma while in your mother's womb. If your mother is suffering, you'll also be going to suffer, because you're highly connected to your mother. Actually, you're more intimate with your mother than any other person will actually become. You're actually more intimate with your mother than most likely her husband has been, or, well, most likely your father. So, the point is that the extra 9 months are a period of 9 months of our world, of our universe, that you have taken to find a suitable family. Because an entity, when they come into this world, they just don't come straight into a body and that's it, like you might see in some movies. A spirit takes a very long time to seek a very compatible person, or a very compatible family that will actually aid them with what they need. Usually entities come in these lower vibrational realms because they are interested in the lower vibration emotions. They already come from positivity, so they're not necessarily interested in that positivity. They're also interested in experiencing what it is like to be abused, what it is like to be, I don't know, think of everything possible. Some spirits actually come here and embody themselves in physicality because they're interested in seeing what it is like to, I don't know, cause pain on others, or what it is like to butcher others, or be slaughtered by a certain entity, like another human, let's say, or be eaten alive by a lion, or I don't know, experience whatever kind of fetishistic lifestyle. It can actually be a lot of things. Like, think for whatever reason people might experience a certain thing, like why people live in codependency and such. It's probably they chose to come and experience that life because they have a lot of karmic debt, and through pain, much of the karmic debt is actually cleansed. So, it is said in Reiki that there's at least or around 9 months that a family will be stalked even before they decide to have a child. They will be, let's not say stalked because it sounds a bit negativistic, they will be followed by the spirit of their future to be child. And they actually wander from family to family. And especially in the very, very negativistic areas, there are all these negative entities. These pure uh, facets of consciousness can actually interact with, and those can actually cause them some pain. Such facets of consciousness being positive, they might actually get a bit attached to the suffering of humans, animals, or whatever. So there's also a lot of trauma that's going to be part of their life, and you're also going to suffer a bit because of that as well. But you're not conscious of it, but your subconscious mind is, because that's where everything is stored, because it's actually the connection that one has with their higher selves, let's call them so, with their true version of themselves, the one that actually sent the facets who they became in this world. The point is, many people actually identify themselves with the facet that they are, because that facet is only a bit of what the entity they are truly is. And the point is this: by becoming, well, identifying themselves with that, they unfortunately limit themselves so much. Move a bit forward, there is a lot of pain, there is a lot of trauma, and these entities, these children, are very, very young. They are suddenly stuck in a physical body that provides them a lot of protection from other entities, but unfortunately not necessarily enough, and also they have a hard time trying to get used to their new home. And their physical body, take it one way or another, is going to be a very cozy home or not, depending on how much they enjoy their life. And if people don't enjoy their life, much of their energy will actually live outside their body, which will make it much faster for parasitic entities to attach to them. And coming into a family that is a bit abusive, even a bit abusive, will open very many holes and tear a lot of, like possible entries for parasites to stick to them, and well, unfortunately they will rush straight in. The reason why children will cry outside of being hungry is that they actually can see a lot of things. They can actually feel entities hovering above them, below their bed, and whatever. The thing is, the point with the monster under the bed, well, most of people's fears, as of what I felt once, actually gather somewhere around their back, and some of the greater parasitic entities actually place themselves on the back of a certain person, hence the reason why the monster lives under the bed. The point is, many of these ideas that nowadays we kind of laugh at them, these were ideas that many people actually believed in, and in a way, take it one way or another, they're actually true. Um, in the older times, people didn't have so many distractions like nowadays. So, one way or another, even if they were poor, they could experience more or less different ideas, like, let's say, a fraction of a second of, communication from an entity, or, a paranormal experience. In the end, all people have been dreaming ever since we appeared on this planet as a race. So that is also another form of communicating with higher or lower versions of life. So children are very defenseless when they are born, when they are very young, and worse than that, their mind actually works at a state, at a vibration that unfortunately it has no defenses. Children's minds up till the age of 6, 7, probably 8, their minds work at a vibration at which they are very receptive. They are very receptive to everything that happens around them. So, in that state, everything that parents tell them, all the bad programming, all the shouting at them, all the crying, all the beatings, everything actually gets stored into them and is felt as greatly amplified. More so than that, there will be parasites that will cling from their parents and other people as well. They will cling to the children because parasites will always go from one person to another. They always affect more people because it's better to have multiple strings of feeding, right? So those entities, how they perform is that they will have a certain person, usually the weaker one, cause havoc and negativity around so as to drop the other ones lower, and those ones they will be forced to react, and so people will be maneuvered like, like dolls on a string by the puppeteer. They will be maneuvered one against the other, and they will have quarrels, and they will probably have fights, and there's gonna be some negativity from which these parasites will actually feed, and in the meantime the children will actually be very hurt, because even if you think the child does not hear, they can actually perceive subconsciously because they are not aware of their own life. People become aware of their own life following the age of 7 or 8, 9, when they start actually knowing some of the things. They can actually use their body quite well to the some of the limits of their physicality. So there will be a lot of traumas in childhood. There are a lot of entities that attach to them, and they will feed from them. They will, they will tease them because in a way they are powerless, and they will perform a lot of things on them. That is why children from time to time they will come to their parents and say that they are afraid, they have seen some monsters, and many people unfortunately they think children will see monsters that they have seen in movies, right? And it's just a recreation in their mind. It's definitely not. Because children have the most powerful minds in the world, being so pure, and just like spirituality says, take great care what you put your mind to think towards, because you might actually create that. And every time you exhibit negativity, in a way, you're kind of creating a little thought pattern that is going to become like a little parasite. Because think of it, negativity is strong only because you make it self-sustainable. You make it in such a way that you will repeat it again and again and again and again. And by repeating it, unfortunately, you're programming yourself to fail towards it and to constantly feed it. And while you're constantly feeding it, it will become a greater and greater parasite. And in time it will become probably even aware. So children, when they look at you as a parent, they most likely look at you as a god, because you're much older, you're most likely much wiser than them, and probably that's not always the case, because some families are simply illiterate, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on what the child wants to experience in life. The point is that, well, children will experience a lot of things, and the only way they can actually manifest that is to cry, because crying is very loud and it actually triggers or should trigger a mother's response. However, not all mothers who give birth actually are knowledgeable of how to take care of their children. This is also the case in animal realms as well, so don't rush to judge people or humanity too badly, because even in wildlife, animals give birth, let's usually like once per year, especially mammalians, and the point is that usually their first litter will most likely die because the mother isn't experienced enough to take care of them. And in time, as they become more experienced, it's gonna be a lot easier to actually take care of them. So the other's offspring's chances will actually increase. Take this as a bit of experiencing in the name of consciousness. So for example, if a lion, if someone would want to experience what it is like to be the lion king of their own pride, they will find themselves some other entities to experience with. And those entities, there are actually many entities who are interested in feeling what it is like to get born in this life, but they don't want to experience what it's like afterwards, or probably they're also interested in what it's like to die in a horrible way. So they can actually get themselves born as children, right, or litter, let's say, for a lioness, and they're not interested in living necessarily that much, so they will also aid the lioness, because most likely being their first litter, as the ideas of the script of this game called life actually goes by, they decided to be the first litter. And most likely, as they decided, they will die very young, probably of starvation or because of predators, and their mother will have gained some experience. A new wave of entities will come as the second litter, let's say, and the facet of consciousness that was interested in becoming, let's say, the lion king of their own pride will most likely come at a later batch when the female lion, when the lioness is, you know, now more experienced and actually has more chances of, you know, taking care of her litter. And probably her situation, her social situation in the pride might have improved. Now, the lion has extra chances. What happens to their life is up to them, but at least they have that extra chances, because it's always better to have extra chances of something than not having them at all. So this being said, I kind of delivered a bit kind of around this idea, but I'm interested in improving people's awareness about why certain things happen in one way or another. So there are many reasons why children actually cry. It's probably because of entity infestation. They are being mocked by certain negative spirits. It's a form of karmic cleansing, usually by experiencing and going through pains, or it could be some physical pain whatsoever. The reasons is you have to be a highly introspective person, you have to be very empathic in order to give birth to children, and honestly, I would actually advise people to start becoming introspective and also to improve on their own, emotional and cognitive empathy, so that they can easily understand their children. In the end, your children are only an extension of yourself. So the point is, they will be exhibiting things that you have done in the past. So that is why you can actually be their guru in life. Now, I think it's enough for this video. I don't want to make too long videos, so I'll probably speak about this in the future. This is Ferengi Board speaking to you. If you're interested in what kind of content I provide, feel free to subscribe and follow. If not, at least I wouldn't mind if you share the videos with other people, so that we can actually help people improve their awareness. And if you don't like my content, I'm also okay with that. I also remind people to take whatever I say with a grain of salt, because my truth may not necessarily be their truth, and our levels of awareness might be, very different. I'm not calling myself superior to anyone, but I have my own ideas, I have things that I've been feeling, and I also feel like aiding humanity and, improving people's lives and providing value to people. So until next time, Ferengi Board signing out.